Good morning, everyone. So thank you for joining us, and this is the inaugural MSFD board to EMODnet Chemistry. So thank you very much for joining. So to introduce myself, I'm Neil Holdsworth from ISIS up in Copenhagen here, and I'm leading the work package on the user interaction and feedback to EMODnet Chemistry, and that focuses both on the data products but also on the use of the data system itself. So there's a few different things that we're interested in getting some feedback on how it's working. And just to be very brief, so chemistry specifically has in its contract a provision to support the MSFD, and particularly for Eutrophication D5 for contaminants, and now for also D10 on marine litter. This is the first of these workshops, which is more or less focused on the regional seas, so looking at the regional sea conventions and asking them what support or what we, from a project point of view in terms of products to help support them and their endeavours. Ooh, excellent, got the latecomers there. I welcome whoever's just joined. We'll do a quick round in a second. So that's really kind of the background of what we're trying to do here. We'll try and keep this to an hour and a half. I've put up on the whiteboard here a very rough agenda of what we want to walk through now. So what I'm just going to ask people to do now, I'm starting looking at the list on the right-hand side of people joining, so I'm just going to ask everyone to introduce themselves and their affiliation. So we'll start with you, Alan. Let's say who you are and what's your affiliation.
Okay, everybody. So Alain Lefebvre from Ifremer, and in France. I'm the national scientific pilot for the MSFD on the Atlantic program Eutrophication, and I'm also the co-pilot with the CNRS for pelagic habitats.
Perfect.
And I have also with me my colleague, David De Vrecker, who is also working on the MSFD for eutrophication and pelagic habitats.
Hi. Good. And Alessandra, just quickly introduce yourself if no one doesn't know you.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Alessandra Giorgetti. I'm from OGS, Italy, and coordinate the EMODnet Chemistry route since 2009, and so now at the third phase. And then start introduction on the project, but later on.
Hey, Alessandra. We have Anne Christine.
Yeah, I can hear me. I'm Christine Öström from I am a leader of a region for Norwegian and Barents Sea.
And then Dag, Norway, I assume. Okay, you're on mute. I don't know if you're talking, but you're muted.
Mute. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, I'm Dag Herman from Norway, Norwegian Institute of Water Research, so chair of the MIME work group in Osberg. Thank you.
Gio? Also.
I'm Giorgio from Ispra. I'm reference for the descriptor 5 in eutrophication for Marine Strategy Framework Directive for Italy. Thank you.
Don't mute.
I'm unmuted. I'm Helge Hagen.
Good.
I'm heading the Norwegian Marine Data Center.
you, Helga. And then Julie.
Hello everybody, I'm Julie Gatti from EMODnet, and I'm regional leader for the Atlantic region in the EMODnet Chemistry.
Thank you. And then Karen.
Hello, I'm Karen from Sweden, SMHI, and I participate in working groups in both Helcom and OSPA, and I also have my colleague with me,
Lena Viktorsson, at the same institute, of course. I work together with Karin on implementation of the Water Framework Directive, classification of ecological status in Sweden, and much on the Marine Strategy Framework, but eventually, I think.
Thank you, ladies. SHI or Sweden are very well represented today, I can see. Okay, and Lomnita?
Buga from Romania, Constanța. I'm regional leader for the Black Sea in EMODnet Chemistry.
Thank you. And Mr. Philip Axe?
Good morning. Yeah, my name is Pax. I work at the Swedish Agency for Marine and Water Management, where I'm responsible for the eutrophication part of the Swedish MSFD. I'm also responsible for Swedish work within OSPAR HASEC, within Helcom Pressure, and within OSPAR AHAL. Okay.
Very. I think we'll have to skip over Snejana because I don't think she's got any audio. And then we'll on to Vlodek. Good morning. Any audio either, Vlodek, I can see. So, with Vlodek from Poland as well, who's also connected to WG Duck, but I can see that he's not been able to get his audio working. Okay, we'll just have to press on. So that's to you, Alessandra, for a very quick 5-minute rundown of EMODnet, the late and the great chemistry. So if you share your screen and chops away.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ania. Let's see. Can you see my?
Yep.
Okay, fine. Okay, so now I will introduce you EMODnet. EMODnet Chemistry is part of European Marine Observation and Data Network, and this is a long-term initiative started by DG Mare as part of the Blue Growth Strategy, and started in 2009 with the pilot phase, then was expanded to in 2013 to a multi-resolution phase, to a low-resolution phase, and now we are aiming to cover all the regional, the European waters with a multi-resolution. The aim of EMODnet is to unlock fragmented and hidden marine data by making them more easily accessible and to produce data products of common interest. So EMODnet is organized in 7 thematic data portals, supported by a central gateway. And so the EMODnet has provides information on most of the MSFD descriptors. But now focusing on chemistry, has already Neil introduced you. We provide information on descriptor 5, 8, and 9. This last phase on 10. As an organization, the EMODnet Chemistry has a European-wide coverage because we are a network of 45 institutes from all over Europe, not only. But we are, for the organization of the activity, organized into areas. I was hesitating because we started from 5 areas, namely the Black Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, the Northeast Atlantic, the North Sea, and the Baltic Sea. And in this last phase, we have been extended in the coverage to Norwegian Sea and Barents Sea. Last part. So activity, as I said, is organized per analysis in a sense that the data which are gathered by the network and are made available in the distributed infrastructure and then extracted internally, really. So are extracted by region, and for each region we have a regional leader. Most of them you have present today to the web conference, and they are responsible for data aggregation, parameter homogenization, and also unit conversion. As you can imagine, data provided into the system by the originators provide unit measurements. There is a lot of diversity, even if we are standardized in the terms, for example, for the parameter, but still there is a lot of heterogeneity. So we try to homogenize per parameter, per unit, and we do additional quality control just to check when all these data are put together, how they fit once close to the other. And after this activity, all the regional leaders give feedback to the data providers. So this activity is not disconnected with the data providers, but is closely linked with them. So they eventually decide to update or to put any modification in the original data. As until this last phase, which started on March this year, have been extended in the focus to the marine litter. Marine litter including beach litter, seafloor litter, and micro litter. So it was done together with the MSFD group, technical group on marine litter. We decided to develop 2 central databases, one for beach litter, which is modeled after the OSPAR approach. So it's done, it's built in together with and with the let's say guidelines provided by OSPAR, and one seafloor litter where a comparable link is made with the ICES DATRAS. And in this case, we have both two underlying, let's say, standards which govern our development. It's one from ICES and the other for MEDIT's network. So we are going to arrange the exchange mechanism so that this regional system, which are already in place, are further populated, and we will develop a central system for other institutes which are doesn't fall within the existing systems. So now program these 2 years. So we are at the year 1, which is we have finished the data collection for eutrophication, and this was the focus of the first year, and we're working on marine litter in parallel. We had this meeting with the board of experts, and have at the first of the first year, at the end of the first year, to develop some maps on litter. Just at the beginning of the second year, we need to provide an updated version of the interpolated maps, the EVA maps for eutrophication. So the results and the products that you see now on the portal are the results of previous phase of the project. We have decided for this new phase to, before developing the new version of products, to have this to have a feedback or open dialogue to see how to better go to the next release of the maps, which is a plan for month 14. In parallel, second year, we will have data collection and the development of dedicated maps for contaminants, but this will be almost at the end of the second year. And also for the second year, we will have to provide data maps on coastal areas near major river mouths. So this is less a very quick overview of the project. I didn't give you any result, any show of the maps. If you need, we can go on the portal, or maybe all the participants have already have the answer to with our portal.
Well, let's thank you, Alessandra. Let's take that as we go through the questions, because of course in the questionnaire which had a link to the product, so I think at least some of them had a chance to play. So maybe we'll just ask now if there are any questions to Alessandra's presentation. Is there anything not clear, or you've got some specific points you'd like to raise just on what Alessandra presented there? Okay. Silence means everyone's happy. We'll move on. Thanks, Alessandra. Okay, so we're going to dive now straight into the questionnaire. So if I share my screen, so if I unshare, oh, what was that? So that Vladimir is back with a different. Can you now hear Vladimir? You still haven't connected your audio. Sorry, 2 seconds. I can just see that. It's different, Vladimir, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the last name also. Yeah, I'm not sure actually it's the same person. It's spelled differently.
It's not. This is Vladimir from. Yeah. Let me do this. So. God. 2 seconds. I just need to write to Vladimir and see if he can. I just have to be able to spell his name. One quick start.
If you can please
unshare you, yes. Yeah, 2 seconds. I'm just writing to Vladimir. Okay, now, right, let me unshare Alessandra. Share my screen and right, here we go.
I want to come in with a quick question. Yeah, would it be possible to share the presentations today? Because I think I wasn't aware of the marine litter work.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I'd like to circulate that within the agency here, so that people are aware of it and we can start.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're still in development, but certainly after this meeting, I'll send a kind of briefing note, and then we'll put together with that the presentation and any other information that we might have to hand.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so the questionnaire that we sent around. So, you know, we talked about contents as well, and marine litter, as Philip just mentioned. But the first of this particular workshop is on the eutrophication, the D5. So we sent a link around and a questionnaire which was just to help you form your thoughts. And I know Alain has already some written feedback on this, but I'm going to ask you today, Alain, to repeat some of those things when we go through this, because I want everyone to hear and their opinions and thoughts and what you think is missing from the Atlantic/OSPAR perspective. So this kind of just gave you an overview of what Alessandra has just presented, and then I'm going to go straight into the questions. The question was basically on the eutrophication product, whether you consider that the selected parameters are fitting or partially fitting or unfit for your purposes. Really, it's just asking, are there any other parameters you are missing, or are the issue the way that those parameters are presented, collected, transformed, that you would like to see differently? So And there you can see on the right-hand side, that's also the list of there. For example, it's nitrates and phosphates, silicates, sodium, etc. So just open up for the different regions if anyone would like to say if they think this is okay or not. Anybody have an opinion on that?
Hello, this is Karen from Sweden.
Okay.
Hello, I would like to see also a DIN, so that means the sum of ammonia and nitrates. I think that would be nice.
Yeah.
And also oxygen saturation, especially for bottom layers. Thank you.
Yeah, because you have those, of course, in the HELCOM eutrophication assessment. Okay, thank you, Karen.
Sorry. Could I ask if is it really consistent between sea areas as well? Because I'm sure that when I went in and looked at the North Sea, it's only nitrate rather than nitrate and nitrite.
Did we have the product lead? That's Martin, isn't it? We don't have the product lead on the call. So yeah, we'll have to take that one away, Philip, and ask. Of course, we can look in ourselves and come back with an explanation for that. But it should be that, yeah, I mean, the approach was for each regional to have the same parameters that we're working with. Of course, there'll be some variation where there hasn't been availability of data or whatever, but I'm pretty sure that there should be consistency across different areas or regions. But we'll check back with the regional leader who's not on the call to find out what the difference is.
And I'm wondering about how consistent the boundaries are with, see in the North Sea product, there are some Irish Sea data, for example, around of Man. And I'm wondering whether that should really be in the Atlantic product. How well is there a relation between the regions here and MSFD subregions or Hat on OSPAR subregions?
Okay, so there's a couple of questions you just yeah, that's good. So well, we also very quickly on the part, the definitions we've used were based on the definition of ISIS ecoregions, which have been aligned to MSFD. So now that the MSFD regions have been fully released, the next version of the products will fully follow the MSFD regions. When these were made, the MSFD regions hadn't been published. However, the ISIS ecoregions, which were very, very similar, had been, so that's what's used. Also, in the next version of the products, there will be a buffer area product. But maybe I should ask one of the regional product lists to say something about how that's derived. I'm sure Julie or someone wants to say something about that.
For the northern limit is parallel 48 degrees. So the 6Cs and the Greater North Sea are together. And about overlapping zone, I think you're talking about that. We will work with that on the products. I think I should more discussion with Martin, with the regional leader for the North Sea, but I think we will have an overlapping of 1 degree. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, that might be slightly different from the way that you do it in the regional seas that you essentially stop very kind of strictly at the boundary, whereas these data products there is to have a more harmonization between different areas. Go from like the North Sea into the Baltic, they have this overlap. So there's a reason that they're doing it like that, which is slightly different from when you do it in HELCOM or the OSPAR area. It's more of a cup. That's a fair point.
Neil, if I can just
Yeah.
add, the issue of the overlapping areas during the previous phase were at the moment worked in by OSPAR and HELCOM. I mean, both of the data sets included from the OSPAR area part of the Baltic Sea and vice versa. In the collection, they had data even from other areas. The analysis on a broader, and then they tried to see with the. I mean, there was an overlapping areas with both data sets with data from both parties. So the issue of the borders was worked in by the HELCOM and OSPAR for the first phase. I have Lovinita here, but I don't think that we had comparable from Mediterranean and Black Sea, but it's an element that will be further analyzed even in the next phase.
Sandra, yeah. I'm assuming that when because of course with the HELCOM and OSPAR definitions that they have the overlapping area, but I don't think, Philip, you were specifically talking about that part because that's a very special case, but you were just talking more generically about overlaps between the sea areas, right?
It was, yeah. In fact, I see that the North Sea product's updated, and it's actually much better for us now than the previous boundary, so that's really great.
Okay, so product.
And sorry, on to the next question with that one.
Are you?
Well, I'd rather base scale rather than parameters. But
okay, fair enough, but that's okay. So, are there any more comments on that first question then? Very good. Alan, did you not have some questions? You gave some feedback on that part. Have we covered it?
One of the first one. No more details for first one. No. All
right, let's move on to the next one. So, second question in terms of spatial resolution at basin scale. So that wasn't necessarily about overlapping or definition of the area, but the spatial resolution is correct in terms of, so is it covering the Baltic Sea, Black Sea, Atlantic? So I guess we've more or less covered that. Are there any additional points on that? That is spatial resolution as much as spatial extent. Okay, so if there's no more on that one, we'll move on to vertical resolution. So, in terms of the depth profiles, I think that you can see on the questionnaire, if I scan the page a little bit. Here we go. Here there's some standard depths given the different products, depending on the depth of the water content. So, are there back to this? Is this useful? Is it the right kind of fit for what you need? Is it irrelevant? So, is there any feedback regionally on that?
Hello, Karen again from Sweden.
Hi. Yep.
I think it's fine, but I would like to add also the surface layer, 0 to 10 meters, because that's what we use in the assessment.
Yeah.
And I also would like to say something about chlorophyll, because some countries also measure an integrated observations of chlorophyll. And if you have this integrated surface layer, 0 to 10 meters, you could also use these data of integrated chlorophyll.
Okay, useful use in okay.
And also, the bottom, not the, instead of a fixed depth, the bottom. So you can do maps, for example, for oxygen at the bottom.
Bottom depth. Okay. Sure, yeah. No, you already have a lot of that in the HELCOM eutrophication products. Yalta works with you on those, so we know a lot about the bottom of the Baltic. Is that, I assume that's useful for other regions as well? I don't know if you need to say specifically, but...
Fork with those points. Yeah, something useful. And then that took me back to thinking about the parameter selection. And I can't remember if we have hydrogen sulfide or whether it's as negative oxygen or whether oxygen just goes down to 0. But sulfide is negative oxygen as part of the oxygen parameter. Would be very, very helpful.
Okay, noted. Actually, I should have mentioned that we don't unfortunately have the bulk product leader who's actually also in SMHI on the call. He wasn't available, but that would have been quite useful. Okay, more on vertical resolution.
I have one question.
Excuse me, if I can just to be sure. So because now we have at the moment we have 0, 5, and 10 meters, and so on. So proposal would be to have an integrated one, or just one integrated surface layer from 0 to 10 meters. Is this the
Yes, add that surface layer.
just for chlorophyll?
No, that's for all parameters. It was just something that added, that we also measure chlorophyll as an integrated value, so there are more data for the surface layer for chlorophyll. But for all parameters, it would be nice to have this surface layer.
Right.
So the question, and that surface layer, use the same surface layer 0 to 10 for the whole Baltic.
Yes.
Might not be the same.
There are other regions.
I'm not sure, for every region is different.
I need to find out what these other regional surface might be. Baltic, just find out. Sandra for clarifying that, because that helped. Okay. Vertical resolution now. I think we've got something to go there. Sorry, Helio, you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question to the bottom. And
To the bottom.
How close to the bottom can the measurement be to be considered to be a bottom value? Because you have, let's say, at 800 meter and it's 2000 meter deep.
Yeah.
So is that to be considered to be a bottom representative value, or do you define a distance from bottom where the bottom value can be kind of defined as a bottom value?
Yeah, that needs to be taken up between the regional product leaders about how they intend to do that. Do you have any suggestion from from how OSPAR HELCOM are doing that? I shouldn't know this from Yalta as well, because he's been doing it for HELCOM. So we should have that we can perhaps use already from that.
Doing this within the OSPAR intermediate assessment. And I'm within the HELCOM Combine, we have often bottom water samplers, which is usually within a meter or so, for the deepest stations. If I were out of value, I would say within 10% of the bottom depth, but it's just a suggestion, and that's not based on any scientific, but that might be a pragmatic way to deal with it.
Yeah.
We have a problem in the North Sea with a lack of this information.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll have to be taken with the discussion in terms of what data are available per region that can actually be sensibly used to get that. So I think that will be a really question for the regional leaders to look at when they're looking at the data set to figure out it might not the same way they can do it for each region.
Sorry, if I can just add the experience from the last phase. Try to work on the deepest value now from the analysis, and this is what we consider as the bottom. It's not the bottom. We try to work with the software, with the DIVA, the deeper of the software, to identify this deep value in a certain percentage and so on from the bottom. Really, I think that at the end there were several issues at the end. Maybe Baltic Sea, I think, but we can specify more and provide to all our participants more information on the exercise that we already have done. But still, at the end, we had to go back to consider this deepest value that was giving better results.
Yeah.
But we can, if it is of interest, we can go again more in details on this analysis.
It's certainly something that we need to consider in the discussion with the regional leaders, Alessandra, that at least need to be clear about the different method that's being used and whether it might be tweaked for each region to be more in line with the regional approach to see how we can best adapt.
Sure.
Yeah. Information and registration. Just noting this. Okay, excellent. Excellent. Okay, any more on that? Okay. Right, where do we get to on the list? Is that all on now? Temporary resolution. So the products are based on a 10-year running window, so they're seasonally. So the question is, are these? Hang on, let me show the. So seasons, which I'm sure most people know what seasons are. A 10-year data set. So it's regionally if this is appropriate, useful, or you prefer a different cut. I'm guessing for some of you, your assessments are not on a 10-year scale, so this is probably not the right scale for you. So what's the view?
Okay, Pierre again. We've used actually the 10-year data in our Article 8 draft report now, because that's what's available. But we would like to see a 6-year running window if possible, so we can sync it to MSFD cycles. And then the seasons, I said it's 3 months and seasonal, but they don't really match our seasons up here in the north.
Yeah.
So winter we tend to run with December to February, and even then in the Kattegat area we can have a bloom in December or January because of stratification. Where winter up in the Gulf of Mothia it doesn't really finish until April, end of April really.
Lovely. Okay, that's very clear. You've already got snow up your way.
Yeah.
That's very encouraging. So you were able to use the 10-year data set in your Article 8, but you of course would prefer the 6-year because then it's in line with the 6-year reporting cycle, and need some regionally specific seasons.
That's cool. Yeah, it might complicate things, but yeah.
The seasons on the web are different from the seasons on the questionnaire.
Oh.
But maybe they're already regionalized, because if you on the questionnaire it's the Atlantic Sea and then quarters, and if we look at the Baltic Sea on the web, it's actually winter December to February.
good.
It was
Notice a
asked
problem.
for, so maybe that's already taken into account with, but we also support this, try to get a 6 years running average.
Yes, I confirm. Really, the seasons were decided by each regional leader, following the characteristic of the area. So it is regionalized actually.
Good.
But it makes that still doesn't fit.
No, okay. Well, we'll as a review, but it looks like the discussion ends up with the seasons do fit if they have been regionalised, and they have been regionalised, so that just needs to be checked. It looks like that's okay. Good. The 6-year comment still stands. Is there any other region or individual that would like to say anything about that? Okay. Good. And then move.
If I can see on the seasons, is it correctly that health area would prefer still to extend the winter season? This is one, and also
live with what has already been regionalised, because we have such a variation north to south across some region that we would end up having differences within the region. So I think we keep it as it is. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you have a regionally specific season, but you're not going to cut it into sub-regions, because that would start to get pretty big.
Yeah.
The Northern Baltic, you have more than a 3-month window for winter. So, okay.
And another question to all the audience: is all the regions are of interest, or do we focus on winter or spring? I mean, on specific region season. Sorry. Is the annual needed, the annual average, or do we keep the seasonal scale?
Good question. Because we're certainly getting advice from our statisticians that they would much rather see us doing assessments based on annual data rather than seasonal data.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about, actually. Yeah.
Yes, please. Do you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Okay, thank you. So about the season, I think that for MSFD D5, it is mandatory to use WFD issues for the coastal seas. So I think that there is at least a need to be in with this in terms of season. It means that we need people to be able to differentiate productive versus non-productive period as defined in the WFD. It means productive is March to October. But I only defined for French waters, or if it is regional specific.
Yeah, I'm about that. Is that in the GS decision, is it, Alan? I'm just specific, it is about different regions.
No.
We'll have a question mark on that one. That's one we need to look at.
And I agree with the previous talks. It means that it's clear we need a 6 years ring window, at least.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Alice, in all of that, I think you had 2 questions, didn't you? Or was that you covered? So your seasonality part, and then I guess you covered. Okay. Move on to the time series. What do you, Alessandra? I don't know if it's available. I'm just what she intended with this question specifically, because this is basically say have a slightly different data product, a dynamic plot. I don't know how are these also useful?
Yes, the question was, are these dynamic time series? I mean, the visualization of the time series on specific points.
Yeah.
Something useful in addition to this interpolated maps, wide coverage. I mean, the actual data, the punctual data.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at the dynamic plots, if they've had any chance to see them and feedback. Is there any of those?
Yeah, I have a look on this, and I think it is useful to explore raw data, to be aware of the ability of data we want to extract, to process. So, yes.
Okay, understanding variability. Okay, is a tool for understanding better the variability data. Okay. Sandra, this is a question for you. Are there any specific intentions to make some major changes to these dynamic time series, or is it just to keep them as they are, unless some specific feedback?
Yes, the question was to keep it if there are specific requests.
Yeah. Okay. We'll probably link. Can we direct link into those dynamic plots around afterwards, just if there is anything? That's fine. Okay. Okay. Move into the exciting area of metadata and discovery. So this is kind of, just to give a bit of background, all of the European projects and data infrastructures are very much trying to foresee where the INSPIRE directive is taking us. Of course, for the MSFD, it has INSPIRE written into it, certainly on Article 19.3, which is about the availability of data resulting from assessment. So very much EMODnet Chemistry and all the other types of data system are very much looking at these services which have to provide leads data which describes the data set, and you have to be able to find that. That's the discovery service. And at some point, we of course, by the directive in 2020, need to be able to have that. Of course, EMODnet's a little bit ahead on that. So the question is really about that. Starting how the product is generated and what the product is. Do find the information in the catalogue about what the product is. Do you find that useful or not? Looked at the metadata, I guess, is the question. Well, people look.
For me, for example, I had a look on this service, and the remark was about the need to have some requisite about the use of Diva, because there is a lot of information about how the data are merged or are processed, and for the time I have no time to explore Diva. So for first look, there is a lot of not really statistical information, but it looks like.
And information about what Diva is, without actually having to go into Diva. Is that what you're saying, Alan? Something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. So you need to work what it's actually doing. Okay, that makes sense. ask you, Philip, because you said you were using the 10-year data in your Article 8. So how do you reference it?
Only to the EMODnet portal at the moment.
Aha.
So we've just put it in as pictures. So
you reference it by pictures?
so we, yeah, that's right. The whole report is my, yeah. Yeah. No, so we put a reference to the EMODnet portal. Please.
Okay. So
I can see that the yeah, as we have a better metadata reference, then we can replace it with that.
Okay, good. So as education then.
Yeah.
UG Dyke hats on, we'll be back to saying that you need to use the proper URL. Okay. Specific. Excellent. Okay, then we had now we're really talking, so the next question is more kind of starting to feel out the data sets and the products we've produced, whether some more kind of bespoke or tailored products that might be required around different regions from the Med to the Black Sea, up into the Arctic and across to the Atlantic and North East. So we've got some data sets we've already discussed here. Are you missing some other data sets, i.e. some generic ones on temperature salinity? Are you seeing something specifically in a region? So just a more free-for-all. I'm going to take a question also in a slightly different way, which is also about, in terms of, we talked about these are regional data, looking at a regional scale, and I think Alain had this comment on the written ones you sent back, but it's probably relevant for others as well, about whether you want to split that area down into other components, i.e. the coast or the ospreys, etc. So this is yours to shout.
Well, I really like the EMODnet products. I mean, I like the concept behind them. I like that they're available. We can't really, I don't think we can use them in assessment directly because we have these salinity-related assessment levels. I think at the very least we need to have salinity fields available. Whether we would need to have some sort of salinity correction done before gridding, or whether we need salinity fields available in time for same time window and same solution as the nutrient fields, so that we can make some sort of effect, some sort of the next assessment level, really.
Yeah.
I don't know how to solve that one yet.
Your product leader wants to comment on any of these thoughts, actually. And I've discussed in the regional.
For me, I think it's a good remark because it's clear that we need salinity data to maybe to make some adjustment. But I prefer to have a file with raw data instead of having something prep process.
Sorry, as a separate data layer. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the idea is to be able to work mainly with the raw data, because maybe because of regional specific issues, there is a need to use a salinity of 33 or maybe 34. So if there is a first calculation, maybe the data will not be useful for most of the people.
So going back to Alessandra then, because of course the regional salinity data sets and products produced in EMODnet, which is of course sitting with EMODnet as well. So are they off-shelf usable as they are, or do we need new products?
I have to say that for files where we have chemistry, we have put together the temperature and salinity information in the collection. So now we have harvested from the distributed system by region the full list of parameters. I mean, together with the nutrients, we have also temperature and salinity for the stations where this information was available. This is one point. Yes, the other point is that I confirm that EMODnet is working on the same line as we are for temperature and salinity. And so for producing this DIVA maps, can try to link better and to give more visibility of all the parameters available in the collection.
Yeah.
I have a comment, Helge. There might be some problems with the regions or the definition of the areas, but because I don't think they are quite the same in EUThernet. Because we are Arctic in EUThernet, and that's not separated in the Barents Sea and Norwegian Sea.
Yeah, I guess that was the case when we had that discussion the other day about definition. Different definitions. But you're saying, Alessandra,
coordination.
Yeah. Short term, Alessandra, are you saying that the salinity, of course, you're collecting the data, and for salinity, you have to have that. Are products produced from those at the moment or not in chemistry?
The data are included, the measurements are included, but we have no products developed within EMODnet Chemistry. So the issue on the definition of areas is present really.
Okay.
These two parameters are managed and by CDAT.
Yeah, need a bit of okay.
Sure.
Very good. Excellent. Okay. So what about the coastal situation? Because of course in HELCOM, when you do the assessment, you break it down into now to the open sea and to the coastal. So is that something that you want to see EMODnet also doing in its product? And that would be OSPAR actually.
For the Swedish hat on,
okay.
I'm not sure that that's so important for us if that isn't used by our river basin management authorities in their assessment. For us, number one thing is to keep our assessment consistent with the Framework Directive and the Marine Strategy. It really means that we take our WFD assessment directly into our MSFD.
Yeah.
And I could see that the problem, the salinity dependence of the assessment, will be more of a problem in coastal waters than shore.
That's the big tool in WG diagram, right? It seems that one is able to get our heads collectively around how we deal with the reporting from Water Framework Directive to MSFD and back again. I mean, that certainly make the regional products leaders' jobs easier if they don't have to do coastal scripts. But it would be good to hear if there is a case for it. Giordano then. So Giordano, is that the same situation for you, speaking as IT/Barcelona Convention, that you would, of course, back to your official river basin district management plans, etc., so you wouldn't need a product from EMODnet? Giordano? Okay. So just because we've kind of more reached the end of the short survey, you'll be very pleased to hear. Any other comments you want to feedback now in terms of the products and the data system that we should know, what you are failing to understand or what you don't find? That's always very useful to get that feedback, as this is an iterative process, so anything that could help the model would be useful. So necessarily have to be about the products themselves, but if you have other comments about human chemistry, that would also be really useful. Okay.
One element, because still for our tender for the project, we requested to go to Cursor to have a higher resolution at coastal area. So in some sense, we would a definition of coastal areas. Looking to what came out, maybe we can just restrict or focus on the river mouth. As I mean, this is also a specific request of the tender. So even if I mean it's not.
Yeah, that's a tricky one, right? So
we need to be provided.
Yeah. I mean, well, I mean, I think you're right, Alessandro. We need to, if it's in the contract, then of course we need to do something towards that. But yeah, you're right. We need to be pragmatic and we need to be as harmonized as possible, because what we probably want to avoid is the great new definitions of coastal areas. So I think that we either have to or should follow what SPAR and HELCO defined and what areas used for the water flow directive in terms of find the areas, because that's the only thing that's kind of aligned to additional coastal from the framework.
The coastal waters is a term coming from Water Framework Directive, so I think you have to use that one. Can that be one nautical mile on the seaward side of the baseline? That's the current definition.
And that's because I mean I said that we don't use. We must relate our assessment under MSFD to what has been done under the Framework Directive. But of course, EMODnet came with a fantastic coastal product. There's our river basin management authorities as the basis of their assessment. Then that would change how user results would be. So I want to stop any development there at all.
No. I'm thinking out loud, I think probably sticking very closely to the water framework would be best, because we know in the in both, well, not so much SPA, but certainly in the HELCOM area, the level 3 or whatever it is not following strictly the water framework definition. So it's got some variation between the different areas, right? So it would be better to actually stick with the definition, because we at some point the Baltic might realign. Yeah. So, okay. Well, that's just thinking out loud. But if anyone else has got any more comments in the meantime, that's probably the way, Sandra. I'd suggest that we take it that way.
I would agree, because in OSPAR we've looked at a salinity band of 0 to about 15 in coastal waters. Mm-hmm. So that would be something dynamic and probably awkward as well. So if it's a coastal WFD definition, that's probably fine.
Yeah. It's fairly simple. What do you think about Alessandra? Does that? I mean, that's something we'll have to discuss further with the regional product leaders, but that seems pragmatic.
Okay, perfect.
We're kind of drawing to a close then. So, thank you, time. I'm gonna put together a few notes for you just to check over and make sure that we've understood exactly what you've commented back. So I'll do that reasonably quick. And of course, we'll send along Alessandra's wonderful PowerPoint, so you can send that to all sundry and get them better informed. And then we'll have some follow-up actions with the regional leaders. We're meeting, hopefully, most of those in almost just a week's time, actually. So we'll have some very quick input of the system for these ideas. So that was very helpful. And then for you, Alessandra, I'll do a follow-up, try and get hold of Vlogcheck and perhaps Vlogmirs as well, if he wasn't able to listen to, and to Nayana, to see if we need to do a little separate run with them, just so we get their feedback. So I don't want anyone to be excluded, that they're trying at least to get on the call. So we'll probably try and do some telephone calls with them or something to see if we can do it that way. Okay, we'll do that this week. Okay, so I think we've got some nice ideas. Yes.
Neil, can you
say something, Alessandra?
Yes, if we
Yes.
just a couple of minutes left, I take the opportunity, if the people are interested, to the portal, to browse, to look and to show how to select the data, how to visualize the data products and so on. A short live demonstration.
Okay, that's good.
Time.
Let us take a quick 5 minutes to everyone. So this is just the wrap up, and I'm just sharing my screen, Alessandra, so you can share your one because my browser isn't working properly. So you could run or share and show.
Yeah. Okay. So share my screen. Okay, I think I'm sharing a screen. Can you see my screen and the browser open?
Make it a bit bigger, just maximize it.
Like
yeah, still a bit small.
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay. So now on the main page of the chemistry portal, EMODnet.chemistry.eu, and main page there is a quick overview of the data distribution per region, per sea region, and per group of variables. So if the user is interested to look at which is the consistency of the data in one selected area, a user can, hovering on the squares, there is the
was complaining the men blacks knew that they're not getting
distribution of data. And so let's see, for example, what can we do? We can do fertilizer, the North Sea, for example. So if the user clicks on box, the user is redirected to the interface where there is a data access service.
I could go to the.
So summary is something really very powerful.
Oh, no.
Can you follow? Can you hear me?
Hey, for me.
Okay, thank you, Philip. So from this summary, you can have a look of the distribution of data per year, if you are interested, or parameter per matrix category, water body in this case, or sediment, a group of values, or discovery parameter. For example, just an example, we can focus on, let's say, silicate in the water column. So clicking on that subset of information, we can zoom to selected, and we again zoom in only on silicate. Now, for example, if you go to summary, we can, let's see how many data, which is the distribution of the data of 2017, for example. This is very recent, but just to show you how you can zoom in on the needed information. For example, here you can see that we already have some data of this year, 2017, and let's see which are the parameters: silicate, nitrate, phosphate, nitrate, ammonium, and this, and so on. Just to show you how you can see the consistency of the underlying information of the raw data which are collected in the system. So you can access the data from this interface. Either we have this activity of aggregating all this data into the aggregated collection. So now I would go in detail of how to download the data. You can add to basket and proceed in the selection of the information. But for the MSFD purpose and for the regional C Commission, let's say, we have already an open dialogue and we exchange the aggregated collection. So for the region, I'll go again on the main portal and to show you the products. So products and view and downloading service. You have all the DIVA maps. The DIVA, sorry, I wanted to make it with bigger actor, but I wasn't able. So you can have the DIVA maps, the concentration maps, or dynamic plots. So concentration maps are the interpolated maps at horizontal standard levels. Dynamic plots are the viewing of the raw data. So the maps, for example, in the Atlantic Sea, you see definition, in fact, of the season for each area. For example, Atlantic, and let's see, Mediterranean. No, this case is this. Let's see, Baltic, for example, and Mediterranean. You see, autumn, the definition is different because, and this is really the season how it was applied in the how it was computed within EMODnet. Baltic Sea. If you want to go to see ammonium, we add the layer. We can see the distribution of the interpolated field or the distribution of the data points of the observations. Let's see first the equation. Is the let's see. No. Sorry. Okay. So we can animate. As you can you see with my screen? I hope so. And now I want to change, for example, the scale. So with you, because now it's all blue and I don't like it. So let's put it from 0 to 1. 0. No. For example. So done. I have zoomed in the scale, the full scale, and this is the overview of the map for 2000. This means we have this 10-year average centered in 2000. So data from 1995 to 2004. I can now animate and then see on the screen which are the running of the different season years. Well, now it's the year. These are now in O2. I think I selected at the beginning. So the interpolated fields. You can see that some part of the interpolation, like now, it's missing. This is because the maps has an error masking when there are no enough data available, and the interpolation is not an extrapolation. So the interpolation is done only where data are available, and the masking of the field where the data available. So for this, we can for example, the observation on this field. So I will stop the animation. I can add the distribution of the data. Now, 1984, I will select the same decade update for data distribution. So now I overlap the distribution of the data with the